Hi everyone and welcome back. So we're going to be talking about circles today. Again, another form of a conic section. So remember when I draw that right circular cone upside down, one of the surface areas, one of the cross-sectional areas is a circle, right? I can draw a circle in here. Draw another circle here. Okay? Or also you have it up here. All right? So we're going to be talking about circles. Does anyone actually remember what the formula is for a circle? This is something you did in geometry, so a long, long time ago. What is the formula for a circle? It would be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to the radius squared. And HK is the center of the circle, and then R is our radius. So just to provide a quick definition of what a circle really is, it's just the focus of points that's equidistant from a fixed point. So when I draw a circle, so here's the center, I'll do my best here, draw a circle. So the focus of points equidistant from a fixed point. So each distance from the endpoints of the circle to the center, it's all going to be the same, all of these distances. So that's what we just mean by the focus of points. All right. So first exercise we're going to take a look at is we're going to write the equation of a circle with a center at 3, -2 and a radius of 4. So I'm just going to recall what the formula actually is. We have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. Okay. And we have x minus 3 squared plus y plus 2 squared is equal to, the radius is 4, so 4 squared is 16. So that's our equation for the circle. Now, if I asked you to sketch this in your calculator, okay, so if I asked you to sketch this in the calculator, well, before we do that, let's first actually graph this. So it has a center at 3, -2. There's the center, and a radius of 4. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. There's an endpoint. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's an endpoint. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's an endpoint. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. There's an endpoint. And then I'm just going to connect them with a nice smooth curve to make a circle. Ooh, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now to answer the second part using the calc. So on your TI-89, you guys can actually graph this and get a circle. But now, your calculator can only graph in terms of y equals, so we have to get y by itself here. So I'm going to write, we have y plus 2 squared is equal to 16 minus x minus 3 squared. So really, I'm just bringing this to the other side. I'm going to square root both sides. Now, when you square root, don't forget plus and minus. So I have y plus 2 equals plus minus the square root of 16 minus x minus 3 squared. Okay, I'm going to bring this 2 to the other side. So I'll be looking at, and I'll write the equation up here since I'm running out of space. So bring the 2 to the other side of y equals -2 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus x minus 3 squared. And when you type this into y equals, you're going to have to do them separately. You'll have to do one with the plus. Here, let me clean that up. Looks sloppy. So you're going to have to do one with the plus, and then the other one with the minus. There's no plus and minus button on the calc. So you'll do -2 plus square root of this 16 minus quantity of x minus 3 squared. And then you'll do -2 minus the square root of 16 minus the quantity of x minus 3 squared. So that's what you would type into the calculator. Now my next question is, using the calc, so after you've typed this in, both equations, you got to separate them, one with the plus, the other one with the minus, so do that if you haven't already. So type those into y equals, and we're going to find the intersection points of the linear equation y equals x minus 5. So if I were to sketch that roughly, well, here's my y-intercept at -5, right? Because that's the y-intercept, and my slope, we're going up 1 over 1. And you're going to find me those intersection points. So you can roughly see from the graph where they're going to intersect. Try to draw a nice straight line as best you can. Mine's a little wonky. Okay, so we can see it's going to intersect here. Highlight it in red there. And here. So on the calculator, you're going to find the intersection point and let me know what you get. You're going to round to the nearest hundredth. So maybe pause the video here and see what you get for your intersection points. Just remember to graph. So once you go into y equals, you're going to click diamond F1. So diamond F1 gets you to y equals. You'll type in your equations, which you should have already done. So you have your x minus 5, and then you're going to check it with both the negative to plus minus. Remember, enter them separately. To then find the intersection point, well, first we're going to graph it. So you're going to click diamond F3. This is on the 89, remember. And we want to find where they intersect. So we're going to click F5, so the top right button, F5, and you're going to scroll down to number 5 where it says intersection. You're going to click enter on the first curve, enter on the second curve, and then scroll that cursor onto the intersection point. And you end up getting one of the intersection points to be, again rounding, 0.17, comma, negative 4.83. And then the other one, when you do your second intersection, will end up being 5.83, comma, 0.83, which that does look pretty close to also what we have on the graph here too. Okay, so those would be your two intersection points if I asked you to find the intersection of a line and a circle. All right, and that's honestly probably the only time we're going to need our calculator right now. So you can put them away. Okay, next exercise. So for exercise 2, we want to find the equation of a semicircle. So semicircle is half a circle. That's a half circle. So if I drew my full circle, I would only want to be looking at one of these portions. Okay. And it has a center at negative 2, 0. So we have a center at negative 2, 0. And the diameter is 12. So that I know the radius is 6. Okay, so that means the radius is 6. And we're just going to come up with our formula. We'll have x plus 2 squared plus y squared equals 6 squared is 36. And we're going to get y by itself because we want to get the equation of the semicircle. So we'll have y squared equals 36 minus x plus 2 squared. Square root both sides. We'll have y equals plus minus the square root of 36 minus x plus 2 quantity squared. Now remember, I just want the semicircle, so you have to pick. It's going to be one or the other. You can't have both. Because if I leave my answer like this, that's the equation of a circle, right? That's two semicircles. So you got to pick either, and I'll write it out just so you can see what I'm talking about. We're going to write either y equals negative square root of 36 minus x plus 2 squared, or we'll have y equals just the square root of 36 minus x plus 2 squared. Okay, so it's either or, you can't be both. If you're both, then that's the equation of a circle. So you're looking at either this equation here or this equation. So you definitely want the or, it's not both. Fantastic. Let's move on. For exercise 3, we want to determine the equation of the circle given. So we have the center. So knowing that the center is 1, negative 2, I'm going to write out we have x minus 1 squared plus y plus 2 squared is going to equal. Now we got to figure out the radius. So the radius to get from 1 to 4 has a distance of 3. So that means my radius is 3. And for our equation, it's r squared, so this will be 9. So these are out. And this answer choice is numero uno. Awesome. Okay. Let's take a look at exercise 4. So we have, what is the equation of the circle that has OQ as its diameter? So this is the diameter, meaning the center is here. So that's my center, which would be at 1, 1, right? Because if this here is 0, 0, halfway between 0 and 2 is 1, and halfway again between 0 and 2 is 1. And it contains the points 2, 0 and 0, 2. So we know these points here. So this is 0, 2, and then this is 2, 0. Okay. So again, even confirming that this point is correct at 1, 1. Now, in order for us to come up with the equation of the circle, we need to come up with the diameter. So let's see. We know the center is 1, 1. So I'm already going to write, we have x minus 1 squared plus y minus 1 squared is going to equal the radius squared. So from this diameter, we can figure out the radius. So I'm actually going to use Pythagorean theorem here. I have a little triangle I can draw on, right? I know the distance from here to here is 1, because this is the point 1, 0, and this is the point 2, 0. So this has a distance of 1. So this has a distance of 1. And now from here to here, well, this is the point 2, 1, and this is the point 2, 2. So again, having a distance of 1. So I want to find that length, the hypotenuse. So I have my leg squared plus leg squared is equal to the hypotenuse. So I have 1 squared plus 1 squared is equal to c squared. That's 2 is equal to c squared, and c is equal to square root of 2. So that means my radius is equal to rad 2. But for the equation, we have the radius squared, so this is really going to equal rad 2 squared, which is just 2. So there's my equation. A little bit more conceptual. You got to be able to break down knowing a midpoint, Pythagorean theorem, using the distance. Okay. All right, I want to take a look at exercise 5. So we have the center of the circle has a radius of 3. So we have radius of 3. And its center is in the first quadrant. All right, so we know the center is going to be somewhere in the first quadrant. And it's tangent to the y-axis. Remember, tangent means it's only going to intersect that point once. So if I'm tangent to the y-axis, I'm going to hit this point once. So I'm going to sketch this out. This is a sketch. This is obviously not drawn to scale. Okay, clearly. Maybe I'll make that a little bit more accurate. Try to. All right. And it's tangent at that point 0, 2. Okay. Well, if the radius is 3, and this is tangent to the point 0, 2, well, the radius is 3, so this distance is 3, which tells me then this center point is at 3, 2. Do you guys see that? It's going to the right 1, 2, 3. It's still at that same height because it's tangent to the y-axis. So when I write my equation, well, we know the center, so we have x minus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared is going to equal, the radius is 3. And remember, this is equal to r squared, so 3 squared is 9. So that's the equation. To find the x-intercepts, remember, to find the x-intercepts of anything, guys, what has to equal 0? If you want to find the x-intercepts, so here, and again, this is not drawn to scale, here and here, what does that mean has to equal 0? Y, right? This is the line y equals 0. So when y equals 0, y has to equal 0, so we still have that x minus 3 squared plus negative 2 squared is equal to 9, because I plugged in y to be 0. I'll have x minus 3 squared plus 4 is equal to 9. Subtract the 4. I'll have x minus 3 squared is equal to 5. Square root both sides, so I'll have x minus 3 equals plus minus the square root of 5. We want to get x by itself, so I'm going to bring over that negative 3. So I'll have 3 plus minus the square root of 5. So those are my x-intercepts. You'll have 3 plus radical 5 and 3 minus radical 5. So those are my x-intercepts. nice little review of x-intercepts. Remember, if I said to find the y-intercept, that means x would equal 0. Okay, let's keep going. We're just doing some more practice. Let's take a look at exercise 7. So we have a circle is given by the equation, okay? Lots of stuff going on here. It's translated 1 unit to the left and 3 units up. We're going to determine in center radius form the equation of the circle, and then write the equations how you would input them into the calculator. So there's a lot going on here. All right, so let's start off with this equation up here. We have x squared plus y squared minus 2x plus 12y plus 12 equals 0. Whew, it's a handful. I'm going to set this up to complete the square. So I have x squared minus 2x, I'm using the commutative property, plus blank, plus y squared, plus, is that a positive? Yep, plus 12y. So I'm combining here, plus blank, bring over the 12, that's equal to negative 12, plus blank, plus blank. So I have my 2 boxes here, so I need to include them on the other side. And then I brought this 12 over. That's why it's negative 12. Okay? All right, let's start to complete the square. So we'll have x minus 1 squared plus 1 plus 1. We'll have y plus 6 squared, so that's plus 36, plus 36. Combine my like terms on the right-hand side. We have negative 12 plus 1. That's negative 11. Negative 11 plus 36 is 25. So that's my equation of the circle in the correct form, so center radius form. So the center, and I'm going to run out of space, so let's write that here. So the center of this circle is 1, negative 6, with a radius of 5. But now the question says we want to translate it to the left by 1 unit, so 1 unit to the left, and then 3 units up. So this is going to go 1 unit left, so really we're subtracting 1, and then this is 3 units up. So we'll end up with 0, negative 3. So that's the new center. So if I want to write, and nothing changes obviously about the radius, right? Radius stays the same. I'm just shifting this. So my new equation we're going to get will then be x squared plus y plus 3 squared is equal to 25. And lastly, we want to write this in, what does it say? Write the equations how you would input them into the calculator. So for us to input that into the calculator, and I apologize, this is all for exercise 7. To get this into the calculator, well, I'm going to bring over the x squared. So I'll have y plus 3 squared is equal to 25 minus x squared. Bring this over. Square root both sides. So I'll have y plus 3 is equal to the square root of 25 minus x squared. Don't forget the plus minus. And in the same step, I'm going to bring that 3 over. So this will end up being negative 3. So I'll have y equals negative 3 plus minus the square root of 25 minus x squared. Don't forget, when you input it into the calculator, you have to do them separately. One with the plus, and then the other one with the minus. You'll have 2 equations. All right, so this was all for exercise 7. I apologize for the lack of space there. Whoops. Okay, I'm going to erase what we got here. And I actually want you to try now number 8 on your own. This you should be able to do now. So try number 8 on your own. This is an OYO. All right, so how did that OYO go? So again, we're going to write this and complete the square form. So we have x squared plus 4x, combine like terms, or not combine like terms, I apologize, using the commutative property to get like terms together, so in terms of the same variable, plus blank, and then we'll have our y values together, y variables. So I have plus y squared plus 12y plus blank is equal to, going to bring that 36 over, so I have negative 36 plus box plus the box. Okay, complete the square, guys. X plus 2 squared, you'll get 4, and let's write that here as 4 We've got y plus 6 squared, so that's 36. 36. Now, if you notice here, I have negative 36 and positive 36, so that cancels, and this is just equal to 4. So to find the center, well, the center, is at negative 2, negative 6, and the radius is 2. All right, remember we have this equals r squared, so to get the radius, we have to square root that number. Okay, awesome. All right, let's keep going. Now, exercise 9 is just more practice with completing the square. So I'm actually going to skip over this one, but I will post the solution here right now. So if you want to pause the video and try this one on your own, otherwise you can skip ahead and fast forward. But I'm going to post the solution here for exercise 9. Okay, so there's your solution. The center would be at 3/2, 2, and then the radius would be at 5/2. So that's just extra practice if you wanted to try that one on your own. Like I said, otherwise you can just kind of fast forward through that part. What we're actually going to start to do is work backwards now a little bit. So first question that we're going to take a look at is, what's the equation of the circle now whose radius is 5.5 and then the center is negative 1/6. So this should be like a nice little practice problem just to reinforce some of the topics we've already done. So following this equation for a circle, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. Well, we have x plus 1 squared plus we have y minus 6 squared equals, now I'm going to rewrite the radius of 5.5. So 5.5, that's the same thing as 11/2. So this is really 11/2 squared. And 11/2 squared, 11 squared is 121, and 2 squared is 4. So this is 121/4. So that's my equation of a circle in center radius form. Now, the rest of these are going to be pretty much working backwards. So for exercise 2, I want to know what's the equation of the circle whose center is 6, negative 3, and has a radius of 4. So again, we know the center is 6, negative 3, and we have a radius of 4. So I'm going to write, we have x minus 6 squared plus y plus 3 squared equals, the radius is 4. So if the radius is 4, remember it's equal to r squared. So 4 squared is 16. And that's my equation. You're probably like, simple enough. Give me something hard. Give me something more difficult. All right. Well, you asked for it, so here you go. Let's take a look at exercise 3. We're just upping the difficulty a little bit more. We want to write the equation of a circle whose center is 3, negative 2. So the center is 3, negative 2, and it goes through this point. I'm going to make a sketch here. So the center is 3, negative 2, so roughly there, sure. It's just a sketch. And I'm at the point, an end point. So if it runs through the point, guys, it's on the circle. So I'm looking at the point 5, 1, right? So if any point's on the circle, it's on the exterior point, right? Can't be a point here that's inside the circle. It's on the circle. Okay. So if I know that I'm on the circle, well, I know then that this distance is going to be the radius. So I'm going to use the distance formula to come up with the radius. So remember, it's the change in x squared plus the change in y squared. So I have 5 minus 3 squared plus 1 minus negative 2 squared. My distance will end up being the square root. That's 2 squared, so that's 4 plus 1 plus 2 squared, that's 3 squared, so that's 9. So my distance is the square root of 13. Now that distance is the radius. Remember, that distance is the radius. So when I write my equation, I have x minus 3 squared plus y plus 2 squared is going to equal the radius squared. And if the radius is radical 13, well, rad 13 squared is 13. So there's my equation. Okay. All right. We're going to do questions 4 and 5, and I believe that's it. That's all we've got for today. So for question 4, what's the equation of the circle? Now we have the diameter whose endpoints are given. So I'll make a sketch again. And let's see. So here we go. So we've got negative 1, 7, so maybe we're looking there. Negative 1, 7, and then 9, 3. Okay, so maybe that's what I'm looking at. Just a sketch. So that's the diameter. If that's the diameter, I need a few things. I need the center, and I need the radius. Right? So the radius is going to be the diameter halved. So let's first find the distance of the diameter. Once I find the distance of the diameter, I can halve that and get the radius. So using the distance formula, I have negative 1 minus 9 squared plus 7 minus 3 squared. So my distance will end up being the square root of negative 10 squared is 100 plus 7 minus 3 is 4 squared is 16. So my diameter is the square root of 116. That's the diameter. But I don't want the diameter, I want the radius. So the radius is going to be the square root of 16 all over 2. So that's one piece of information that we have. Fantastic. Now I want the center. Well, the center is the midpoint. If these are the endpoints of the diameter, right, that means this is the midpoint. So to get the midpoint, I'm going to average the values of x and y, and I'll be able to get the midpoint. So the midpoint is really just going to be our center. So I'll have negative 1 plus 9 over 2, average them, average the x values, and then average the y values. 7 plus 3 over 2. So I'll get my center to be negative 1 plus 9 is 8, 8 over 2 is 4, 7 plus 3 is 10, 10 over 2 is 5. So there's the center. And guys, I can write my equation now. I'll have x minus 4 squared plus y minus 5 squared is equal to the radius squared. So let's see. Squared is 16 over 2 squared. That's going to be 116 over 4, which when I put that in my calculator, I end up getting 29. So there is my other equation. Okay. Again, if you guys need to rewind, go back to any of this stuff, please feel free to do so. Okay. And lastly, we've got exercise 5 and we are done. So let's take a look at exercise 5. So I'm going to erase this. Again, you can always rewind just to go back and check. Make sure you agree with what I have. Okay. So for exercise 5, what is the equation of a circle whose center is 3, negative 4. So love those sketches. 3, negative 4. So 1, 2, 3, negative 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's the center. And it's going to be tangent to the x-axis. So tangent to the x-axis means we're going to intersect once on the x-axis, right? So again, this is just a sketch. It could end up being more like this. Who knows? Just a sketch. Actually, the green one looks a little better. Maybe we'll look at that one. Okay. So let's take a look. I know I like the green circle better. That actually is probably a better representation. All right. But anyways, regardless, still a sketch. Either one's fine. All right, so we want the equation of the circle. So I already know the center. So that's 3, negative 4. So we're going to write x minus 3 squared plus y plus 4 squared is equal to the radius squared. Now the radius, well, if this is tangent, that's a point on the circle. So let's figure out what that point would be. This is tangent. The x value is still the same. So I'm looking at 3, 0. And that distance is a radius of 4. So this is really 4 squared, which is going to be 16. And that's it, guys. That's all we had to do. All right. I hope you found this video helpful. That wrap-up question is just making sure you guys know your equation for a circle, which we talked about in the very beginning already. So this should not be anything new. Okay? Where HK is the center. All right. I hope you guys found this video helpful. As always, make sure you give me a like, subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to you all soon. Miss you. Bye.